We came over to Norfolk Island for a holiday, and I specifically chose not to do any work while I was over here or any filming. But once I got here, I could not help myself. I just knew you guys would love this place so much that I've actually decided to film everything and take you on a bit of a tour of this place. It is just incredible. I think it's the most intact and largest collection of Georgian architecture in Australia. That's down here in this Kingston settlement, and this includes a place called Quality Row, which is a row of houses. And there's also a number of fantastic museums. A number of these Quality Row houses are still private residences, and wow, I certainly would not mind living in them. But the house at number 10 is now open to the public as a museum. So I was super excited to visit this museum, as you will see. But you can come along with me as I explore inside this amazing place and uncover the secrets of this World Heritage-listed home. The next stop on my museum tour is the beautiful house behind me here. It's number 10 Quality Row, and it was built as accommodation, and apparently it's all set up as it would have been when someone lived in it back in the day, so I'm really excited to see inside this place. All the houses on Quality Row date from the second British settlement, so between 1825 and 1855, as do all the surviving buildings in this precinct. This house, though, was built in 1844 for the foreman of works, who at the time was Thomas Seller. So he was responsible for building all the houses and the buildings required for this settlement. This was during the Georgian era, and the key architectural feature of buildings from this era is their symmetry. So you can see a really good example of that in this house, as well as all the other buildings on Quality Row. Inside the house, there was originally a central hallway, 2 bedrooms, one of which has an awesome trapdoor into the cellar underneath the house. Oh my gosh, did I want to get down into that cellar? Abso-freaking-lutely. Was I allowed to? No, but it doesn't matter because the house was still so cool to explore. There was also originally a sitting room and a dining room, and in the sitting room there is one of my favorite things that I discovered in this house. It's direct and very naughty evidence of one of the house's residents, Thomas E. Christian, who was the grandson of the Pitcairn Islander couple who ended up living in the house from about 1856 until 1890, engraved his name on one of the window panes. Isn't that naughty? But I absolutely love that he did that, because now we have direct evidence of one of the residents of this house. Absolutely amazing. One of the bedrooms was later converted into an office, which is how it is set up now. And in this room is another piece of graffiti or art, depending on how you look at it. It is a drawing of a ship. And this was found under layers and layers of paint. So it's not clear who drew it or when, but I think you'll agree it is just the coolest thing to uncover. And like I said, I just love these little tidbits of people that remind us of the previous residents of these houses. I just think they're absolutely wonderful. At the rear of the main house is the kitchen and other service areas. So this was quite common to have the kitchen and laundries and servants' rooms, that type of thing, separated from the house. It was to prevent the spread of fire in the high-risk area of the kitchen, where there would be an open fire. And it was also to keep the temperature down in the main area of the house and prevent kitchen smells from infiltrating the living areas. But it was also very much about the different ranks in society. So servants and their areas were always kept quite separate from the family and the, more upper class members of the residents. So you can see that in this house. You can see the practical side of the kitchen separation, but also the separation in classes as well, which is really cool. At the back of the house, there's also the original dunny, so privy, outhouse, whatever you want to call it, but it's pretty basic. It's basically a couple of slabs of timber with a hole cut in it, and everything just dropped into a giant pit underneath it, so it would have smelt horrendous, but that was all they had at the time. And the great thing about this type of toilet for us these days, not so much at the time, and not so much to the archaeologists that had to do this work, but they actually excavated this privy, the pit under this privy, and they discovered a treasure trove of items. So they found a heap of odds and ends that had been broken and then had been discarded down the toilet. And these items just shine such a great light on the everyday lives of the inhabitants of this house. They tell us so much more than just looking at paper records or that type of thing. They tell us how wealthy they were, what their tastes were like, what influences were inspiring their taste for furnishings in the house, what were they using every day. And you can find out so much about people by what they threw down the toilet. The other cool part of the house was the gardens. So the gardens were always a big part of these homes, and they had to be quite self-sufficient in the early days. And they have maintained a beautiful garden currently, and it just makes the house look so pretty. But the other awesome surviving feature is the well in the yard. So cool. So just another cool feature that demonstrates the way of life of the people that were living inside this house. I just had the best time looking around, and because it's set up as it would have been back in the day, it's just so easy to picture that the family have just popped out for lunch and they'll be back any minute and they'll just stroll on in. It really does set the scene for what life would have been like in this house back in the early 1840s and 1850s. I love those little personal traces of people who've lived here in the past. Awesome place to visit.